Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Sarah, and on my channel I just like to share my life as a mom, and a lot of that includes cooking and grocery haul, so that's what you see a lot of from me. So today I have 3 recipes I'm going to share with you, and the first one we're just jumping right in. It is a meatloaf recipe, and I actually made like mini meatloafs in a muffin pan. So I'm just getting my meatloaf mixed together. This is my own recipe. And I just do some ketchup, salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, 1 egg, and some breadcrumbs. Mix that up really well, and then just put it into the cupcake liners or muffin liners, whatever you want to call them. These are silicone, and beef is fatty, it's greasy, so I didn't spray the pan at all. And I had enough to make 5. These are like the jumbo muffins, so I had enough to make 5. And those went in the oven at 350 degrees. And I think they baked for about 25 minutes. They didn't take too long, especially since they were on the smaller side. And then with this, I decided to make mashed potatoes and just some corn. So I am just dicing up some potatoes, and I wish it actually went this fast in real life. But then I just cover the potatoes with water until they're just covered and boil them until they are fork tender. And then use my hand mixer to mix them up with some butter, a little bit of milk, salt, and pepper. And then my husband likes when there is a sauce on top of meatloaf, so I am making that, and I am just combining some ketchup, some Worcestershire sauce, a little bit of yellow mustard, and then I add in for seasonings. I do smoked paprika because you want to tie those flavors in to the meatloaf, and I think that was it. So I'm just mixing that up, and then when the meatloaf was just about done, I pulled them out and I put some of this mixture on top of all of them, and then just popped them back in the oven long enough to warm the sauce mixture back up. And then for the corn, it was just a bag of like the steamer, bird's eye steamer corn. And I just used, cook it in the bag, and then I pull it out and I put some butter, salt, and pepper on them. So it's a really easy meal. My husband and my son both love this. And it was fun to have something other than just like a big brick of meatloaf to have the muffins. I also thought that it stayed really moist too, all the way through. The next meal I'm making are cheeseburger sliders, and I made homemade fries with these. So I'm just getting started with the fries, and I am slicing the potatoes pretty thin. We like thin fries. And then I'm going to blanch them, so just boil them basically for a little bit. I think I boiled them once the water was boiling for maybe 5 minutes, just to kind of help them cook so they don't take quite as long in the oven. And then I had my oven preheating while I was doing this to, I believe, 350 degrees. I do have the recipe for this linked down in the description box. And then while the potatoes were going and the oven was preheating, I'm getting the mixture for the sliders together. So I am just dicing up an onion. If you don't like onion, then don't add this. We couldn't really tell that it was there, to be honest, but it was really good. So then you just cook up your beef with your onion until it's completely cooked through, and then you add in some seasonings. And I also did cook the onion with the ground beef. And then I wanted to leave this in here. You don't see much with the food, but if you look in on the left, Ryder was in the kitchen helping me cook. He loves when I give him a spoon or a spatula or something and he can just pretend he's helping mom out. So then moving on, I kind of did this video how I actually cook. So while the hamburger is cooking, I am moving on to the fries. I want to get those in the oven so that they can get nice and cooked. So I dump them to drain them, and then I rinse them with cold water because I need to be able to touch them. And they were way too hot, obviously, coming out of the boiling water. So I then took a paper towel and started to dry them off, put them on a cookie sheet, and then I realized that they were still pretty wet, so I wanted to dab them a little bit more because I didn't want to delay the cooking process at all. Added some oil, and then I did smoked paprika, salt and pepper on them, and put them in the oven at whatever temperature the sliders went in at. I put these in there as well, just before the sliders, so that they cooked longer. And then when the sliders were done, I put the broil on the oven to finish crisping up these fries, but they turned out really good. So then moving back to the meat mixture that you are making for your sliders, I just wanted to make sure that the chunks weren't super big of the meat. And then this is where you add the seasonings in. So I did salt and pepper and garlic powder, onion powder, and mixed that up. And then this recipe, I believe it says you can use soy sauce or Worcestershire. I think it was this recipe, and I chose to use Worcestershire. But then you kind of create a sauce. So it's mayo, mustard, and ketchup. There are measurements in the recipe, but the recipe calls for 2 pounds of hamburger, and I only used 1, and I think the 1 was perfect. I would not recommend using 2. So you just mix all that together, and then I have a loaf of the King's Hawaiian rolls that I just cut in half to make sliders, and you put your mixture on top, and you're supposed to put cheese on here, and I completely forgot, but we thought it tasted just fine without the cheese. So just put your filling on top of your buns and put the top layer back on like that, and then cover it with foil, and you're going to cook it most of the way. After it's cooked for that amount of time, I think maybe 20 minutes, you pull it out, and then you put melted butter over the top, brush melted butter over the top, and then sesame seeds. And you pop it back in the oven for just a few minutes to get the top of the buns, the top of the rolls, I guess, crispy. And it was so good. These were absolutely delicious, and we ate them as leftovers. Like, we had plenty here, and we ate them as leftovers, and they were delicious. I highly recommend. And our fries turned out crispy. It was just a really good meal, and it was fairly easy to make and inexpensive. The last recipe I'm sharing with you is a homemade calzones recipe, and I thought about not including this at all, and I thought about just cutting out the first part of the video because I struggled. So I will leave the recipe for the dough down in the description. I will also link a video where I made dough if you have never made it and are interested in seeing that. I made a pizza dough. It's not the same recipe, but it's very similar, so I will leave that down in the description if you're interested. And I will also leave the video for Taylor Elmore here on YouTube. It's who I got this idea and the recipes from. She made this look so easy, you guys, and I was struggling with this dough. I think it was too sticky, which is why I keep adding flour to the cutting board and hoping that it'll work. I did stretch it out a little bit. I finally just gave up. It wasn't like perfect circles. I was so frustrated. They turned out great. They tasted really good, but making them was really frustrating. And I just wanted to show you that I'm not perfect in the kitchen. I've been cooking for many years, but I'm not perfect. And especially when I try new recipes, stuff happens. So I got it. I got it done. They didn't look pretty, but they were really good. If I did it differently, I would thin out the dough for each calzone a little bit more. So in my husband's, I put pizza sauce, pepperoni, like an Italian cheese blend, and some bacon. And then I prefer Alfredo. So for mine, I did Alfredo sauce, bacon, jalapenos, and some cheese. And by the time I got to so I did my husband's 2 first, and then by the time I got to my 2, I was kind of getting the hang of it. It still wasn't a perfect circle, but it didn't really matter. Honestly, they tasted great. They were a little thick though, which is why I would kind of cut down on the dough. Maybe make it into 6 calzones instead of 4, but they were good nonetheless. And then before you put them in the oven, you just want to brush some olive oil on top of them. And I thought about putting this everything but the pizza, or whatever it's called, from Pampered Chef on there or in it or something, but I didn't. I ended up not doing that. So I just brushed the top with the olive oil. You could use melted butter if you wanted as well. I just thought the olive oil was convenient because then I didn't have to melt any butter. And then I sprinkled on top some grated Parmesan cheese, which was really good, and some Italian seasoning. And then you just want to put a slit in the top so that the heat can escape, so they don't explode in the oven. And then you bake them, and they look beautiful. They're not perfectly shaped, but they look good. And again, they tasted good. So don't be afraid to make mistakes in the kitchen. But that is everything I have to share with you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, like this video, and you can also hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.